Hi Barb, can you believe it's another 10 minutes with Barb and Ron. This will be episode 18.
Whoa. They've gone by fast.
Boy, they have gone by fast. We've had a lot of good episodes out there, and the numbers have been really good. I don't know if you looked, but episode 17 I think was hitting 130 this morning when I looked. That's not bad when we released it Friday.
I think that's great. Love it.
All we do is just compare them to what we've already done. So that's a higher number, I think, than a past one by this time. So yeah, that's kind of neat. We need more subscribers though.
Well, that little click subscribe at the end of the video is a good reminder for folks. So
yeah, and those that are new, I'm Ron Rogers with OCALI. So I thought I'd better get that out there.
And I'm Barb Green at Centerburg Local Schools in the Geographic Center of Ohio.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No.
That's what Centerburg is. Yeah. The Geographic Center. There's a sign as you drive into town. So that's how I know that.
Well, that's cool. That's neat. So what are we going to talk about today, Barb?
Well, this I think is just going to be a little bit of just talking about what's on our mind. So
this is what... oh no, we can't do that.
Go on.
I can't do that.
You have a sense of adventure, Ron Rogers.
Okay, well, how about we talk about what's on your mind, Barb?
Well, all right. You got to jump into how about educational equity and fairness. This is what's been going on in my mind. Is I saw this really great quote that I stole from the National Equity Project and stuck it on my signature line because it just spoke to me. And so I'm just going to, we'll probably put it up on the screen for people to see, but I'm just going to say it because so it frames everything we're going to talk about. So educational equity means that each child receives what he or she needs to develop to his or her full academic and social potential.
Wow. So I've got a feeling you're going to break that out for us a little.
Yeah, I'd love to just process that with you, Ron, because I so truly believe this. I really do believe that this is our mission in education, is to make sure that every child gets what he or she needs. And yet I am then asked the question about fairness. So how can we do all that and be fair to all of the kids? And if this child needs this and we're spending a lot of energy here, how is that fair? How is that fair to me as the educator to put all that time in? Or how is that fair to the other kids in the classroom? And so I don't know, I just want to process that a little bit with you. What do you think it takes to get to the system where every child gets what they need?
You bring up a great question, Barb. And sometimes I think that we take something like that and we try to fit it into a system that's not ready for it. And we view it from that system point of view that it's in, instead of thinking of ways to think outside the system. So, I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because of course we don't know until seconds before we do this what we're even going to do. I had no idea what you're going to say. So I'm wondering, let me understand first. First of all, you're saying that sometimes we may be spending more time with some students than other students. And if we are, we might be taken away from the other students. Is that kind of what I heard?
That people perceive that we might be taking away from other students.
Okay, so it kind of depends on the lens they're looking through, and to people looking through that lens, that's a reality then, I would say. That's a reality. So the question for me becomes, how do we flip that reality, and how do we make it, like you said, equitable and fair? So it's perceived as equitable and fair. So what's a strategy that you think of that could help with that?
Well, see, what struck me when you said that was that person's lens is the reality for that person.
Sure.
And so it is true, like, and I find myself being guilty of this often, like, because it's so clear to me that we should meet every child where they are. I think everybody thinks that. That's my reality, so it's got to be everybody's reality. And so when I talk to somebody who that isn't the lens that they look through, I just can't even, I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't? And so I guess it comes back to that you ask about a strategy. So I'm just mushing this around in my brain. And the first thing that hit me was, how George Chiney, my previous boss, used to have this phrase on his doorway that talks about, we can change actions, which will change mindsets and belief systems in so many words. It's a lot more eloquent on there, but I guess it's about trying, like, let's just try this. Let's just think about this child right now and try something that will make this system a little more equitable for them, and then reflect. I guess that is the part that with any of this hard work, it's about reflection, isn't it?
It is. And that's one thing as educators, we don't do enough of. We don't take the time to reflect. I think there's people that don't take any time to reflect, actually. And I think there's some people that take too much time. I reflect too much. Every career I've ever had, I've reflected too much. And sometimes you got to be careful, because I think if you reflect too much, it could drive you a little crazy. But I think if you don't reflect some, you'll never get better.
Yeah.
So reflection's a pretty big piece. That's a pretty big piece. But it's that reality again. How do we change the reality?
I think, I've talked about, if we really knew our learners, like if we spent a little bit of time, UDL asks do this to really get to know our learners and think about all the variability that's in front of us. And I just wonder if even a thing like, sitting in a team meeting and just looking at all of the learners and just jotting down some things about each of them and maybe something that they need. So we're talking about needs to develop potential. Maybe then we begin to see some that, Johnny isn't the only one who needs that. There are some other kids who need that. And so how can we, design something that can address, a few kids' needs, and because that's the systems piece. Right? Like we have to sometimes step back from the individual and look at the broader so that we can change the system. And so maybe that's a way. I don't know, Ron. I'm really just thinking about this. Like if we sat and looked at all the kids and said, okay, Billy and John and Susie and Marge all need somebody to take a little more time developing some relationships with them so that they can develop some trust. Because trust right now is not there, and so they can't quite, fully engage in our school day, and so maybe they're not learning. So what can we do to get that relationship built? How could we do that? And maybe that would lead itself to a systems change where maybe our daily routines are set up to put some structures in place to have that time just to develop some bonding with kids. I don't know. But somehow we have to get down to what is it that kids need.
Okay, so I can't get away from universal design for learning on this one, and I'm going back and I'm thinking, when you first think about, when I first think about the beginning of my school year, one of the things I'm going to always do is find out what my kids love, because if we don't find out what they love, and we don't find out their interests, then we're not going to help them find their niche. And kids like to know where their niches are. If you look at any classroom, think about second grade classroom. The kids always, if you ask a specific thing, they'll be like, oh yeah, Trent knows a lot about World War II. Let's ask him. You know, I mean, kids have certain niches. Oh, big trucks with four-wheel drive trucks. That's Sarah. Sarah can tell you anything about a four-wheel drive truck. You know, so maybe we just have to look at kids as kids and get them collaborating together where they can kind of help each other. I mean, it's really just, it's all a mindset. It's how you want to, if you're a person that divides and conquers or has to rank people or have groups, you know, that probably shouldn't be the way, I mean, people think in different ways, don't they, Barb? I mean, you know, I've never processed that way when it comes to kids. When it comes to kids, it's kids. I've just never labeled them. I still try never to label them. And kids are kids to me, and kids can learn and help each other. And it just has to be one of those settings where there's risks. It's kind of like the growth mindset, Barb, you know. It's where we have to take risks, and we have to support each other through the risks, because some risks are going to be, we're going to land flat on our face. I do that all the time. I have hardly any nose left. Well, it still looks big, though. I mean, so what do you think, Barb? I mean, I kind of rattled on there for a minute.
No. When you were talking about how the kids know each other's strengths and their little, you know, special interests or whatever, I was thinking about kids and this concept of fairness, because while there might be a few kids maybe that I've heard them say in a classroom, well, that's not fair. I mean, my kids would say that to me all the time, you know, as a parent, but like I'm
say it
in the classroom, you know, I don't know that kids really see that. Like, I think it's something that we, the adults, maybe put in place, is that we think it's not fair. But I really wonder how often kids would even say, well, you know, why does he get to do that and I don't? You know, but if we set that culture of the classroom where we are all unique, there's this learner variability that's in place for all of us. And so talking about, I might need, you know, to stand to learn, and Ron might need to sit on a ball where he can move around a little bit, and somebody else needs to sit clear at the desk and just look at the teacher. You know, we all need different things. And so maybe it's about having those conversations and helping kids recognize that in each other, everybody has different strengths and different needs. Maybe that's where a place to start might be.
So you're making me think about my time with the academy that I ran, and what you just said, everything you just said was part of the culture. For example, we had one student that would, once they felt like their hyperness was starting to get a little out of control, that student knew that they could leave that room, walk down the hallway into another room, get out a Mountain Dew, drink a little bit of it, set it back down, and come back into the classroom. The caffeine in the Mountain Dew counteracted the surge of energy that they were getting, and they'd be calm again. None of the students cared that happened, because every student knew that they all had their own things that they could do to help them keep focused. You know, one student, when the focusing was off, would get up, go look out the window, and then maybe, you know, come back and sit back down. It's like the bouncy ball you mentioned. You know, some kids had to rock in their chairs. I mean, they didn't think of it in any other way, because the teacher didn't think of it in any other way. It was part of the class.
Did the teachers have that conversation at the beginning of the year about that with the kids?
Yeah. We had a commitment. It was a team. There was a team, and the team all committed to, we're going to do whatever the student needs. Period. If that means a trip down to the welfare department together for something, then we'll do it. You know, maybe an aide will go with them or whatever. But if the student has a need, like we bought an alarm clock for one, because they were coming to school late. And when we found out why, it was because their alarm clock broke. You know, because we made an agreement too that unless it was really something harmful, we weren't going to discipline. Now that's one you don't hear very often, is it?
Right. Right. Wow.
Yeah. Instead of the disciplining, we decided we would go deeper and find out what was going on, which also meant home visits too.
Yeah.
You know,
it really sounds to me like that academy lived by this motto of the National Equity Project, where each child receives what he needs to meet his potential.
It just seemed like common sense at the time.
Yeah. Well, Ron, I think this is something that, I just appreciate you letting me kind of talk about what's on my mind today and some of the things I've been thinking about lately. And I think this topic might come up again in the future. It's not one you can do a one and done on, right? It's just like, let's begin the conversation and we'll come back to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you shared this. This was right out of the blue. I'm going to have to look up the council that you're talking about. So, maybe email me your quote from the beginning and email me that link, and I'll put those in our resources with the YouTube video that comes out 10 minutes with Barb and Ron. YouTube, please subscribe, like, comment, and share.